Thank you again for watching another Gaffer and Gear. Today we're going to have a look at some V-mount batteries from KTV. So I've got their Mini 50C here, so that's a 50 watt hour battery with an OLED screen, and I've got their Mini 99C here, which is 99 watt hour V-mount battery with an OLED screen. All right, so just to give you a bit of a backstory, so it'd be less than a year ago, they sent me in a whole stack of product for review, and I had their previous generation of batteries, or their lower cost version of their batteries in that review. So these, as you can see, they're all battle scarred. I'm still using these. They're still going out on jobs, and they are performing as good as day one. So they are holding their charge. They're getting the same run times as they always got, because they've got Samsung batteries in them, as do these. So they've been a dependable, reliable battery, so I'm sure these ones will be as well. To the guys at KTV who have been saying, when am I going to do the review on these batteries? I can't just take a battery out of a box, charge it and do a review on it. I want to make sure it's going to run and it's good. And the only way I can do that is by taking them on set for months on end. It's the only way you can test a battery. So like I say, 4 months I've been using these and haven't had a problem yet. Okay, so let's have a look at the Mini 50C. So that's a 50 watt hour battery. It sells for $138 US, and I weigh it in at 380 grams. And it has Samsung cells in it, and they are Samsung 18650 cells for those people who want to do a bit of research. Now the battery has an OLED screen which tells you your voltage, your amperage, and an estimated runtime, and it gives you a nice big picture of a battery there telling you what percentage of power is left in the cells. Now one thing I like about the screen on these is it doesn't stay on all the time. I've rejected other batteries that have come in here for review because the screens stay on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you charge up those batteries, put them in the lighting van, go to use them a week later, and they're 80% flat already because the screen has drained all the power. So with these ones, if you want to see the information on the screen, you just press the power button on the side and the screen will momentarily light up. It stays on long enough for you to read the information, then it shuts down again. So that's a very nice little addition. Now let's talk about the V-mount. The pin receivers are plated, so there's not going to be a lot of resistance there, which is good for longevity. Now in terms of a negative, it only has the one D-tap. It doesn't have a D-tap on both sides. Now the D-taps, they claim 14.4, 5 amps maximum output. Now I'm a little bit skeptical of that because I've tried running a Forza 60C off this, and a Forza 60C running at 100% power will run for about 1 minute before the battery shuts down. If you try running a Forza 60C at about 90% power, it'll run for about 8 to 10 minutes and then the battery will shut down and protect itself. So 14.4 volts, 5 amps max, maybe for a little bit of time, but definitely not continuously. On the top of the battery, you have multiple outputs. There's a 12 volt DC output that can do 2 amps max. There's an 8.4 volt outlet that can do 2 amps max. There's a USB-A output that can run 2.1 amps. Now, one thing I do like about the USB-A port on these is they can run CRMX receivers. So many batteries can't run these. The current draw on these is so weak that the batteries shut down. This little 50 amp battery here ran one of these receivers for about 3.5 days continuously before it ran out of power. And the reason I ran it for 3.5 days continuously in that studio was I completely forgot I had the receiver running off the battery. And there's also a USB-C, which is bidirectional, but it has a maximum 45 watts out only. So for example, if you plug it into a light that's PD compliant, it will come up on the screen of the light, PD 45, and limit you to 45 watts output. Now in terms of an additional negative for both of these batteries is the outlet cover on the top. It is a little bit pathetic in terms of how it mounts. If you give the battery a good shake and a bump around, it can come loose. Now let's take a look at the Mini 99C, so 99 watt hour capacity. This sells for $178 US, and I weigh it in at 600 grams. Okay, same negatives apply for this. The top cover is very easily loosened, and I reckon that's only a matter of time before that gets sheared off. And it only has the one D-tap port. I think 2 D-tap ports would have been ideal for the camera department. In terms of a pro that I haven't mentioned but for both of these is they are perfectly weighted so that the weight is centralized on these. It's something I would never have thought about in a battery, but I tried to sell off some cheap batteries that came in here for gear review, which I rejected. And some of the camera guys came around and had a look at them, and they said the batteries weren't balanced, so it would have been a problem on a gimbal or on a drone. In terms of the V-mount side of things, the pins are plated for less resistance. In terms of the D-tap out, they claim 14.4 volts, 10 amps max. Now, all I've run off these in terms of lights is Forza 60Cs. So based on my experience with that, I don't think you'd get a very long runtime with a 10 amp power draw. So with the Forza 60C running at 100% brightness set to 5600 Kelvin, the screen estimated 1 hour and 20 minutes runtime, but I only ever get around 1 hour and 7 minutes. In terms of the outlets on the top, you've got a 12 volt 2 amp max outlet, you've got an 8.4 volt 2 amp outlet, you've got a USB-A with 2.1 amps out, which again can run a Lumen radio receiver without a problem. And you've got your USB-C bidirectional in and out, which is limited to 65 watt. Okay, so in closing, let's have a look at how the 50 watt hour battery goes paired up with my Exelux controller. So we'll put it on, we'll make sure we hear the click. Okay, so we've heard the click. Is it mounted safely? Well, if you hear the click, yes it is. So the reason I'm concerned about that is these smaller batteries, and I can tell you this from experience in rentals, because they fit beautifully into the palm of your hand, people tend to use them as handles. So that is something that scares the crap out of me from a rentals perspective. This looks like it locks fairly well. Now, my closing thoughts, I will probably sell the little 50 watter here because it doesn't really power any of my lights. It's not big enough. I will definitely keep the 99. In fact, I'll buy a second 99. I'll keep 2 in each van. Look, the 99s, they do come in handy every now and then when I have to do run and gun stuff with a small light. And look, I'm pretty happy that they're going to be dependable. I've had them now on set for about 3 to 4 months and haven't had an issue. Okay, catch you on the next episode of Gaffer and Gear. Take care.